This is a newer outline question. It was made specially new for this practice test. I do think that if you compare it to some of the older ones from this practice test, we can see that they've upped the difficulty slightly, but I don't think it changes our strategy at all. So we still want to go to the question first and see what they're asking from us. The student wants to refute, you gotta know that word, means to prove wrong, a claim that malapportionment in the sorting favors small urban districts. So doesn't favor urban districts. That's all I get. So this is got a little bit more thought involved than usually because we're refuting a claim. We're not making a claim, right? So let's see what we get. Less populated rural districts are disproportionately underrepresented in the sorting, creating an unfair advantage for smaller but more populated urban districts. So this is saying that there's an advantage for the urban districts, but we want to refute that, right? So this is positive, but we want to say something more negative about the urban districts. So this is not correct. This is where we need to focus on the word refute, right? It makes a difference. It's untrue that malapportionment in the 169-seat sorting favors small urban districts. Rather, the formula for distributing seats overrepresents more populated districts. Okay, well, maybe that's refuting it. It's not really providing any evidence, just saying that it's untrue. If you're really refuting something, you're kind of proving it untrue. You really want to have some sort of data. So I don't know, but it does kind of say it's untrue that it favors the small urban districts. So maybe that counts as refuting it. Let's keep it in. C, a common feature of representative governments, malapportionment occurs when electoral districts are over or underrepresented. Yeah, there's no refutation there. D, awarding more points per unit of land than points per resident. The formula for distributing sorting seats overrepresents less populated rural districts with large tracts of land. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. That doesn't say anything about small urban districts. But if we're saying that the malapportionment or the sorting doesn't favor small urban districts, one way to refute that would be to provide evidence that we are giving favor to someone else. So this is overrepresenting the less populated rural districts. So it's favoring someone besides the small urban district. So it's not mentioning them, but it's still kind of refuting that argument by saying someone else is unfairly favored. So a lot of you are going to cross that out, but it might be right. The problem right now between B and D is they answer the same question in two different ways, right? This one is saying it overrepresents more populated districts. This is saying it overrepresents less populated districts. So now I got to go to the bullet points. What do the bullet points say? Malapportionment over or underrepresentation is a common feature in Norway. Okay, the seats are distributed that awards 1 point per resident, 1.8 per land. Less populated rural districts with large tracts of land receive a disproportionate number of seats compared to smaller but more populated urban districts. So the less populated ones are favored, is what that is saying. So this is just false. This is true. So it's D. So I do think that that's harder than usual, right? There's more steps involved, but I think our strategy stays the same. My advice, if you got this wrong because you just kind of immediately crossed out D, is be careful when the question here involves like an argument like that. Refute is a really important word, and you can refute it by proving something else true, I guess, and that's really what D is doing. And so it's sneaky. But now we know that they're going to do that kind of sneaky thing. I still think these are easier questions than any passage, right? So any hard passage, I'd much rather do an outline that's twisted and messed up than any passage, because I at least have a plan, right? I'm going to the question. I have an idea of what I'm looking for. There are going to be some answers that are easy to cross out. And then worst case scenario, if I do need to go to the bullets, I'm going there with a purpose. I know what fact I'm looking for because I know what answers are left, and they're going to say opposite things. So still very streamlined process.